Buenos días a todos. Thank you everyone for attending this conference. I'll try to be as clear as possible. We're Riverside. I'm Julian Manco, as I was introduced, and we have the team of geologists here, Luis, Emmanuel, Jimena, and we're part of the larger team led by John Mark Staudy that couldn't make it this time for this version, and Abelardo Peña. And I will figure out how to move this. So this is a team. This is, like Riverside has been in the market for more than 15 years. So I know a lot of geologists have been in Riverside as part of the team. So all these products, all these projects are basically the product of those generations who participated on these value creations and understanding on the territory. And thank you so much, Doug, and Adelina and all the team for making this space for we all part of the mining change from the let's say prospectors, project generators to be part of this conference. So shortly, Riverside is a project generator company, mostly with half of the participation is European shareholders and the rest are Americans in essence. And it's really well known because of the development of some generative exploration alliances. Currently, we have one with BHP that has been for the last 5 years, but in the past we've been related with Antofagasta, Hochschild, Kinross, Clips, among other juniors in the past. And that allows us to have some good deals, like in the past for Tajitos project, that they're going to become mines in the future. So that's the core business of the company, mostly related to create projects and partner, option it, and eventually all the upside of the project itself. So I know many people were expecting this conference was more related to the new regulations with the mining law, and John Mark Staudy is the guy for that discussion. And since yesterday, we've been talking about all the impacts. So it's really well known, and actually it's a hot topic right now that we can discuss further. But more important than that is that we can just speak up, create like a chain or let's say, just united with the cameras, with the camera minera, all those that the voice can be led to the point that they can be listened, right? Because if we just stay together kind of complaining about the same group, is not the way to act. So it's obvious, and mostly for us as project generators, the impact in exploration is quite clear, right? So exploration is almost banned, we can say that, under this new law. And what we can basically, I want to highlight for all this process, that's a fact, is that now it's more paramount, or it's paramount to have those areas where you have a good status areas. We can say like that, like a healthy areas with all the drilling permits, water permits, and all the clears in terms of mostly relationship with the communities. And a relation with the community or social license is not a certification that the government give it to you. It's something that you have built with the accesses in the area. And I'm geologist, and most of you are geologists too. So like at the first phase the communities encounter in the field is a geologist. So all that social license is something that you build from scratch, from years, going to the field, knowing who's the owner, understanding like the cultural awareness of those communities. So that's more clear and it's more paramount. And that's for Riverside specifically, that's we can say it's an advantage, like a competitive advantage right now for having all this work in many regions, mostly in Sonora and Sinaloa. But this is a hot topic, and we will discuss more about it during the event for sure. So I'm going to focus the talk in these two main projects. Both of them are in western Mexico. Let me point here. So one of them is Union project. It's a CRD, gold mostly, and zinc. And another one is called La Silla project. It's an epithermal, classical Sierra Madre Occidental silver gold project. And we're going to discuss mostly about geological features and focus in some comparable deposit for you to understand the scale. These two projects are available for optioning or for any agreement, and they're in really well status, I was mentioning, in terms of drilling, permitting, water, and community relationships. So let's talk a little bit about Union project. So for those who live in Sonora or know Sonora better, so we're 1.5 hours south from Caborca, the town of Caborca, right? So, and it is close to 3 hours from the border with the U.S. So the first city is going to be Tucson, over here. So we're in those hot spots for many types of endowments. So we're really close to all these multi-million cluster of mines, like a shear-hosted, and I'm not going to stop in the genetic relationship, but it's a shear-hosted gold where they host mines like Herradura, San Francisco mines that are multi-million ounces. But as we know, we are in the inference or interference some laramide age intrusions. And sorry, I cannot see here. So most of them are like this. This is Union over here, and you can see all the laramide endowment can go that far. Some places where in the literature that has been dated close to 70 million years old. So all this laramide endowment related with porphyry related mineralization got influence in the area. More about geology, and this is a product that Riverside we use a lot, and this is a multi-scale magnetic domain. Basically, we isolate the signature of the batholiths and define what are the more magnetic areas. And that's important because this is the Texas shear zone, the mega shear zone that's being proposed, and that's a pre-laramide architectural, or architectural feature, pre-laramide. So why is that important? I'm going to explain to the deposit scale what's happening with this. And this feature actually stands further south. You can see here, it's so evident that this, what has been reported here, can be southwards extensive. Another feature that's really important is those laramide northeastern features that are mostly the plumbing system where we have more of the occurrences. And this is the government available data, so you can see kind of that distribution of the mineralization, the known mineralizations. So a little bit of the past story. Union, it was worked in the 50s by the subsidiary of Peñoles. So they defined some bodies, Emma and Sproul, and they were mined, yielding some of these concentrations in average. So high-grade zinc, 5%, high-grade gold, usually 7 to 20 grams, also endowed in silver, and also in lead. And there is a big jump. So in Riverside acquired this property from Millrock in 2019. And since then, we been working, advancing this project. And we have an option agreement with Hochschild that was last year. As you know, Hochschild strategy changed globally in the exploration. So they left the project. But the project stayed in a stage where we basically define all the ore controls, all the stratigraphy, that the system like CRDs is really important. So the projects we believe is they're ready to drill because those features were completely understood. So this is a view. This is a Caborca town here. So we're looking northeastern towards Caborca. And this is the Sierra El Viejo. And then we have the main targets, what we call CRD1, CRD2, CRD3. And then there is the influence of basin and range normal faults, basically down-faulted blocks to the valley. So this is a prospective area besides of all the project here. Shortly, the stratigraphy, for those who know the Sierra El Viejo, is a Proterozoic limestone units that basically show the transition between all these sequences that are limestones that they lack fossils, and that's how you can recognize or differentiate these two big members between the ARPA-Caborca formation, and the upper units are bearing some fossil, mostly stromatolites, Girdanellas, sorry, I don't know that word in English, and the rest of the fossil signature here. All this upper part is part of the sequence that outcrops in the project, but we know for regional correlationships in the northern and the south that we have Caborca and ARPA formation. And this is where we think we have the main potential, because that's the most prolific unit in terms of thickness and calcareous content. Because this one, although we have high grades in these units, they still are interbedding between limestone and sandstones. So we think we're scratching pretty much the system, and this is where we have the largest potential for the unit. As you can see, regionally, along all this area, there's some historic mines or some mining shows that tell us also a large district in the Union, in the Sierra El Viejo, that hasn't been defined. So some photos here. So mineralization style comprises mostly mantos along bedding, like in this case here too. Some places there are chimneys, there are some verticals, chimneys and feeder zones like this. Interestingly, those feeder zones have a signature of high copper and high gold. So that's a signature that we follow as a proximity to these feeder zones. And you can see some of the grades. So 9 gold, 4 gold, 83 grams per ton gold. This is a high grade here. But in general, you have those signatures also with zinc and lead and silver. So this is the geological conceptual model we have for the project. So we have these 3 targets area. This is where we have all these occurrences in this part. And what we identified, and that's related with what I was explaining initially, all these structures, even this high-angle structure and this low-angle structure, are northwestern structures. So all this architecture where we think maybe a conjugate set, where all the feeder zone, where the fluids were plumbed to the system. And that's important because you know how erratic, but how big this system can be. So this is really key. Understand that we have a plumbing system active that we expect that actually can be quite connected. Just to mention, so between CRD3 and CRD1, there are 4 kilometers elongated footprint in terms of occurrences and the stratigraphy. I think I can stop this video, so I'm just gonna let it play, but I'm gonna explain better. So this is the stratigraphy of the Sierra El Viejo. Then we have, can we stop it there? ¿Podemos pararlo un momentico? Okay, good. So pretty much, that's the stratigraphy that we say most of this stratigraphy is outcropping, and this is when we think we have the targets area, mostly along all this feature here. So mostly the grades are surpassing 2 grams per ton in some key places. ¿Podemos seguir? Gracias. I'm just going to speak quickly. I'm going to talk about the footprint. We're comparing with Santa Eulalia in some cases. ¿Podemos parar ahí? Perfecto. Oh, un poquito más. No, okay. Ahí. So this is something key, and this is an approach that we use in Riverside, just to try to find some comparable deposits in terms of size, thickness, grades, all for that to give us an idea of the volume that we're dealing with. So this is our targets idea, and this is the thickness or the volume we expect to have along those prolific units from Caborca and ARPA over here. That is the bottom of the sequence. And in the background, this is the West Camp of Santa Eulalia footprint. That's pretty much the 80% of the old tonnage produced by Santa Eulalia deposit. So if you think, it's really expecting in the CRD system that as Lawrence was explained yesterday, is basically, it's like a plumbing system or like a transportation line or system. It's really erratic, but kind of continue in the district scale. So our opportunity is finding that all these systems, all these targets here are connected underneath, because we have all the preservation of the sequence and the continuity. Oh, go ahead, please. Por favor. Sí, simplemente ya hay una propuesta. Sorry, there is a drilling plan to test these ideas. We have access. This is a road. In red is the new acquired area. And as I mentioned, water. Water is important. So we have this point of water access, a community relationship. So this is a project that under the new law and new legislation, all those layers of information plus the geology are key for promoting the project. So this project is ready, we think, for the next stage for partner. Quickly too, so this is just target one. So only the footprint for target one is really straightforward. So there's some mining occurrences. Let's say here, there's another here, some shafts that go vertical. 100 to 200 meters, and then they're trying to intercept some of the same units. So all the stratigraphy is west dipping in that direction. So only this area comprises for 1 kilometer by 0.5 at least kilometer. And if you, let's say, assume 20 meters of thickness in these systems, that we verify some of those in the field, easily you can produce 25 million tons of volume and even double it with the rest of the targets. So it's a really decent, let's say, potential for tonnage. Some of the geochemistry analysis we do, I'm going to move faster on this, basically just to highlight from some rock schist samples along all this trend. They really mark all these feeder features in this direction and also in this direction. So these northwestern are not only Can I speak about that? And to the southern, we have a signature of manganese. That's where we have an endowment to the south. Same analysis when we apply principal component analysis using IOGAS. You can see there is a signature of the main, let's say, mineralization along all these trends, northwestern and northeast somehow. And there is a large background of potassium in the south, among with the manganese. Sorry. So this is an alteration model we have for the district. Basically, we have the feeders that they have the signature of large gold over silver along with copper. So that's our signature of these main structures that go northwestern, and mostly northwestern in this another orientation. And the rest of polymetallic signature, including silver, zinc, and lead, are as a replacement along these sequences. And what is more important to say is, as I mentioned initially, we have some occurrences in the vicinity of porphyry. So if we trace what are the potential source of that source in porphyry, we think it's in this part of here, where we have a large high mag anomaly that probably source all the fluids along all these northwestern structure that you can see here. And I don't know if you can see the pointer because it's so quite small. And being said that, this is another comparable that we might think of. So if we expect to be in a laterite system, There's some analogs in the vicinity. Basically, Taylor deposit in Arizona, that is a large CRD owned by South 32, that basically the Sunnyside porphyry is in this part. So all the system is preserved, and actually the rocks in age are pretty much considered what we have in Union, right? There might be another case, like a lead bill in Colorado. Also, laramide age, we're talking about laramide to Paleocene ages in lead bill, and around that, all the CRD system, and you can see the footprint. So we pretty much have the footprint from the Western lead bill camp. That is another multi-million deposit. That actually, this is quite similar to what we've seen in Union in terms of jasperoid occurrence. I didn't mention jasperoid, but jasperoid is the main alteration along with dolomitization as the alteration marker. So in two cases, this is from a porphyry, let's say productive or fertile source, and this is for a non-fertile, where all the grades were developed in the periphery, but the intrusion itself is not productive. And something to compare with Santa Eulalia, but we know we're talking about completely different systems in age and jurisdiction, but it's quite interesting just to emphasize on this is Santa Eulalia West Camp, all the background in red, right? And this is Union. So we're pretty much really comparable in terms of footprint in the vertical, and also when we just discuss what we have in the as a potential in the sequence, we can easily have a favorable stratigraphy in the Union project, like half of what we have in Santa Eulalia. So you can make your numbers and think about it. That's or think that way. Approach all these projects in that direction. So just to conclude for Union, pretty much we have some ready to drill targets in a really friendly jurisdiction. And friendly is because people and because their mining infrastructure around it. And both are key elements for developing a project. So this is the plan for Union. We have defined where we want to drill in the future, and we will be happy to have a partner just to share the upside out of this really interesting and potential deposit. Okay, La Silla project. So this is the other project. This is here in Sinaloa. This is just 2.5 hours from Mazatlán. So we're inviting for those who are wanting to increase their position in Sinaloa, in the really interesting trends, to join us for a tour visit that we're planning between tomorrow and Friday. So for those key people in companies that are acquiring or business development part of their companies, please stop in the booth and we will discuss more about this visit. So this project, let's say, is less study, or we haven't studied that Mazas and Union project. But what we can tell is they're large and continuous. You can see here some of the outcropping veins. So in the project, we have a target that's called Ciruelos targets that had more than 2 kilometers of exposure of these veins with gold grades on surface from 4 to 8, and that remain undrilled. You can see a photo here, easily 4 meters in occurrence. Where is La Silla? Or the Ciruelos, they call it Ciruelos. So it's over here, north of San Ignacio. So in the tour, we just go that direction. It's gonna be 2.5 hours to visit the project. And I think now after the presentation of Doctora Paula, you have a better understanding of how all this block might be, or which part of the system remains or remains in the stratigraphy. So really nice location is in the Tylotide district, where you have all these multi-million occurrences in silver and gold. So what is important here is basically was some projects from Yamana that Riverside acquired in the past. It's almost 1,500 hectares of the project on Ciruelos. All the tenure, all the permits are in good standing. And this is some of the concepts that we were evaluating, but we understand now on the light, so more results of the Sierra Madre Occidental. It's going to be way more easier to explore in those robust studies that have been done by UNAM and led by Dr. Paula. Will tremendously help with exploration in all this region. So initially, we think all these northwestern structures that create all these basins or preservation, and some transects of those structures like here, they just create all those jogs, like dilational jogs. In this case is where we have the La Silla project. So we have a structural architectural or a structural architectural domain that favor all those plumbing systems to be good located over here. So some of the photos and some of the characteristics of La Silla. So on surface, what we're gonna see is pretty much 3 meters to 8 meters wide veins, mostly with some of this testing. This is a LiDAR underground mapping. So all these systems remain open. And what is an interesting feature here that we'll explain better here is all the simul loop, similar to what has been defined to Midas deposits. All those fractal distribution of the veins where you have simuls and dilational jogs, it's really clear that we might have some of those in the La Silla project. And that's pretty much, this is from the project here. So you see all these colloidal open space textures that are similar to some of the large systems in the region. And that pretty much are telling us that we have space, that we have dilation, that we have places where we have basically the good conditions to precipitate gold and silver. So this is the target Ciruelos that we're gonna visit. And this is a 2 kilometer length proven continuity with some good grades along on the continuity. But we also think that's part of all this loop of potential zones that remain open to test. So this is the initial plan to test all these veins, but all the further work and potential to the southwest is open. Just to conclude, I'm just going to leave this video here. So this is the 2 kilometer length. So we have all this potential. We want to drill in this part. And please join us in the booth if you want to know more about this project, along with all the rest of portfolio that includes some some copper projects in Sonora and some gold projects also in Sonora and Sinaloa. I think that's pretty much from my end, and thank you so much for joining us. I'll wait for you in booth 221. Thank you so much.